Thumbnail time! You can see my makeup. L's up, baby! Carnation! Alright, that's enough. Channel, you guys. I'm gonna try to hurry up and do this video because I only have like 50% on my phone and I don't feel like setting up my studio lights, so I'm trying to take advantage of this natural light. It gets dark at like 5 o'clock here in New York City and I hate it. So today I'm gonna be talking to you about college. Today I'm gonna talk about just some general like college tips, like how to choose a college. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we're going to talk about, so tune in. The first thing that you need to think about when you're picking a college is, what do you want to achieve? Okay, so where do you see yourself after college and what do you think you'll be doing? Now, I understand that this can be hard to know for yourself for some people when you're 17, 18 and you have no concept of the real world. Like, I totally get it. It's like, how am I supposed to know what I want to do with my life when I haven't done anything in life except go to school? But you know, you can change. You can always change your major. It might add on a little bit more time to your courses and like you might not graduate in 4 years squarely, but if you choose something and you figure out that it's not right for you, you can always change. Just try to check in with yourself at the moment and figure out, you know, what it is that you think you want to do, and just be willing to grow and mature and evolve, because that's gonna happen. You know, you grow up so much in college and then you grow up so much when you leave college too. You're always going to be changing. So I think the first thing to keep in mind when you're picking a college is just have a general idea of what it is that you want to do and what it is that you want to like study and where you see yourself, because that is going to help you pick a program that is going to be suited to your needs. Another big thing to consider with college is the price. Unfortunately, education is very, very expensive and it keeps getting more and more expensive. When I was applying for schools, I think the cheapest college that I applied to was like 25 grand a year. And the most expensive, I don't entirely remember. I think it might have been like 50 or 60 a year, somewhere between there. Either way, it's a lot of freaking money. Price is gonna be really important because I think in the moment it's really easy to just sign off on loans and like just pick whatever school and be like, I'm gonna worry about it later. But then later, it really hits. They gonna get their coins, honey. So be mindful when you are taking out these loans, when you are going to these schools that you can't afford. How are you gonna pay off $200,000 of debt? I mean, literally how? People don't realize, because when you're so young, right? When you're 18, you don't have any concept of cost of living. And so it doesn't sound like a big deal to borrow $50,000, but then when they're garnishing your wages, I think that's the right word. Like when you don't pay, the government will take it directly out of your paycheck, I think. I don't know if that's true. You're looking at payments of several $100s a month. Like, there are people out there who pay basically a second rent's worth of money just on their loans. So it really is a big deal. And I think that schools, high schools and like preparatory schools could do a better job at explaining loans, because I feel like when I was in school, they just pushed everybody to get a loan. Like, just get a loan, get a loan, get a loan. But they don't talk about the gravity of that decision. So you want to make sure that you're applying for schools that are in your means. Another thing to consider when you're looking at price is the structure of the program and whether or not you will be able to work. Now, some colleges have what is called a work-study program, and that is when you work for the university, usually some sort of desk job, or you might be working in the dorms, and they will take that amount off of your expenses. However, those positions can be far and few in between. They're usually pretty difficult to get because there's so much demand. So don't depend on that, but if finances are something that you're having to think about, then definitely look for schools that have ways to help fund your journey. Also, of course, applying for scholarships and grants. Unfortunately, acting scholarships tend to be pretty meager. We're talking like $1,000 tops. Like, it's pretty difficult to get a full ride just for acting. So this is the importance of keeping your grades up, y'all. I got a full scholarship academically. I didn't get shit for my acting, but I got a full ride based on my grades. Like, I think it's easy for people to be like, oh, well, I'm never gonna use this in real life, so I'm just gonna flunk out of this class. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. If you want that money to go to college, it does matter. So definitely keep your grades up and just try to get as much money and assistance as you can. It's so expensive to go to college. Location. So this is another thing that I think doesn't really matter. I feel like a lot of actors, especially, they want to go to school in New York City or Los Angeles because that's where the professional markets are centered. However, when you're in school, you're gonna be too busy to audition for professional stuff anyway. So, you know, in my opinion, why would you spend $1 million kajillion going to college in New York City and then you graduate college and you're broke as a joke and you can't afford to actually like live your life and move on once college is over? Like, you always have time to move to New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta later on. But as far as location, I don't really think it matters. It's only 4 years and then you can move to wherever because you will have saved your money. I think another big thing to think about when you're applying for acting schools is to not just go somewhere because everybody did. You know, every year there's these lists on the internet. It's like top 10 colleges, and it's always like CCM, BOCO, UMich, all of these like famous schools. I feel like a lot of people go there because they know that it's basically a Broadway theater school. But once they're actually there, they start to regret their decision and they realize that it wasn't a good fit, whether that be environmentally, whether that be curriculum wise. You know, a lot of people that go to those schools end up being really miserable and having a traumatic experience because it just wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So I really urge you, I mean, they're great schools, they're great opportunities. If you can afford it and you really think you'll like it, by all means go. Just don't go for no other reason than you want that name on your resume. Because I will tell you, nobody cares what college you went to. Like, professionally, like, certain colleges will get your foot in the door faster, but if it comes to an audition, either you're the part or you're not. I've never had somebody look at my resume and question the college that I went to, and I went to some tiny little, like, unheard of school. Another thing to consider when you're picking colleges is what type of degree you want. Usually for performance, you'll have either a BA or a BFA. And the difference, it's kind of a blurry line, but in general, a BA tends to be more of a broad, general type of degree. Usually it's in theater or theater arts instead of specifically like acting, ballet, vocal pedagogy. It's meant to be more of like a catch-all degree, so you'll do a little bit of technical theater, you'll do a little bit of directing, a little bit of acting, a little bit of costume, you do a little bit of everything. I think the pro to a BA is that you can diversify your income after graduation, especially in Corona times when the job market is extremely scarce for acting in particular. I personally have benefited immensely from having a regular BA because I was able to take all of the diverse range of skills that I learned and apply that to jobs that don't even relate to acting. Definitely don't knock on it. A lot of people think that BAs are not as serious as a BFA. They're not as good. Girl, you do you. So now we're going to talk about the BFA. Like I said, the BFA tends to be more specific. You'll usually get a BFA in musical theater, acting, vocal performance, something like that. So obviously a pro of the BFA is that it is very streamlined. You don't have to take all of these extra like English, communication 101, like all of these extra classes that I had to take at a liberal arts school. You don't have to take those at a conservatory. You just focus on acting, which really allows you to hone your craft. So now I'm gonna talk about the big name schools, the schools that everybody wants to get into. I would say the major advantage of going to one of the top 10 schools is connections. Okay, you get to study with people who have been on Broadway, who are currently working on Broadway, who know people who can get your foot in the door. A lot of them will have a senior showcase, so they will take you up to New York and you audition for agents and you can get representation immediately after you leave college. And normally it's extremely difficult to get an agent here in New York, so that's a huge advantage as well. There's definitely better training. So there are a lot of advantages to going to one of the top 10 schools. That being said, it is not the be-all end-all. You know, you still have so much time to grow and build connections and network after college. If you do not find a big name school that A, you can afford, B, that fits you, you know, it's not a big deal. You can go to whatever college and it's fine. Nobody cares. Like, the main point is you just need to go somewhere that is going to fuel you artistically, and that school is going to be different for everyone. And that kind of brings me into my next section, which is things that I wish I knew when I was applying for schools. And number one is that the college that you choose is for you. I remember just feeling so pressured because, as I talked about in a previous video, you know, I don't come from money. I don't come from supportive parents. I didn't have any help at all. I did this on my own, and so I was very far behind from my peers who were going off to CCM and going off to New York City right away. And I really felt so down because I didn't have a fighting chance at these super famous schools. But after a while, I came to realize, you know, why did I want to go to those schools in the first place? And the answer was yes, connections, yes, training, but also just because it was the thing to do, you know? And I just feel like it's important to not let yourself get peer pressured into going to a school that's not right for you just because everyone else did. And another thing that I'm going to reiterate, something that I wish I knew when I was in high school, is that nobody cares what school you go to. This is linking back to my first point too. Like, yes, of course, if I had a full ride to UMich, NYU, one of those super great schools, of course I would go in a heartbeat, but I didn't. And I thought that my career was going to be doomed because I went to this tiny little school that no one had ever heard of. I was like, well, this is it. My dreams are shattered. I'm never going to get my foot in the door. Like, nobody's going to know what school this is. And my career's a wrap before it even starts. And that was not the case at all. As I mentioned, when you walk into auditions, yes, they read your resume sometimes, but what they're really looking for is the character. And at the end of the day, if you fit that part and you did the work and you got the training, you're gonna get it whether you went to Juilliard or not. The last thing that I would advise, and something that I wish I could have done back then, is to audition and apply for as many schools as you can. Now, that being said, of course, don't just apply to schools willy-nilly. Like, make sure that you're applying and auditioning for schools that you really think you might like, but also keep your options open. A lot of these performing arts schools have a very, very low acceptance rate. We're talking about 15% or less. So you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket because you don't know why you're going to get rejected. Like, talent is not it. There's so many other factors, and honestly, the odds are always stacked against us as actors, so you want to increase that possibility of throwing yourself somewhere and being able to stick. If you're having financial troubles, which I did, I couldn't afford to audition for a lot of schools, try and see if there is maybe some sort of grant, or if there's some sort of like amnesty through the university to try and waive your audition and application fees, because those can get to be really expensive. Another thing that a lot of people like to do is the unified auditions. They typically have 3 different versions. So they'll have NYC, Chicago, LA, and it's kind of like a cattle call, like an SETC or Straw Hats, but you go and you audition for a bunch of different schools all at once, and they'll give you a callback. A lot of the time you do have to go back to that school after the fact and audition again, but at least you can see who is interested in you. And you might be surprised. You might get a callback from a school that you weren't really considering, and then you check it out and you end up really liking it. So Unifieds is a great way to get yourself out there and kill a lot of birds with one stone. All right, so I hope this video was insightful. I hope it answered some of your questions. I would say the main takeaway for theater school is to just follow your heart. Go where you feel strongly about. That may be the popular schools, that may not be, and that's okay. Just really trust yourself. Trust that you know what is best for you, and I promise, look me in the eyeballs. Okay, hold your pinky up to the screen, do a little pinky swear. No matter what school you go to, it is going to be okay. You are going to be fine. You got this. Go nail those auditions. This is such an exciting part of your life. You're finally growing up. You don't have to follow all these stupid rules in high school, and you get to be an adult and have freedom. It's so much fun. College was so much fun, and I'm so grateful that I got to go. So no matter where you end up, just remember to have fun, and as long as you do the work and you apply yourself and you focus and make sure that you stay on your path, everything is going to work out just fine. So I wish you the best of luck on your application and audition process, and thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment. You can drop questions down in the comments below if you would like to. Otherwise, see you next time.